Hi, so this is my hometown, it's Canterbury. Actually, Canterbury's literally just there past that hedge. This is in fact the River Stour, and the River Stour runs all the way through. It makes a beautiful walk from the lab up into the town centre. I thought I'd show you a little bit about where I live, actually. Now, Canterbury obviously is one of the oldest towns in England, and it never occurred to me, but you know, with horse riding you get walk, trot, canter, gallop. Apparently, canter comes from Canterbury pace, which is the pace the horse riders used to use to get here because it was a great spot of pilgrimage, and it got shortened to canter over time. So Canter and Canterbury are ultimately related. Now, it is an awesome place, and we'll stop off at a few points and just show you some of them. But like I say, here we are actually in the town centre right now. So Canterbury is quite a small town. It's got about 55,000 people who live here permanently, and about 40,000 students a year come rushing in. In 2017 we had 7.8 million tourists, so there's an awful lot of people come to this small place. It means we have quite an eclectic mix of things, so you'll find an awful lot of pubs and cafes and boutique stores. We actually have more pubs per square mile here than anywhere else in England apart from London. So this is Abbots Mill Park, and we've come here because this is the site of the Abbots Mill project. So the water is probably interfering a bit with the audio, but the Canterbury City Council is going to put a water wheel in here, and that water wheel is going to generate somewhere in the region of 20 kilowatt hours peak. Now here, there's been a mill for something like 800 years. They closed the last mill in 1933, and they've decided to put a new mill in here, but this time to generate electricity rather than flour. It divides here, and that will be the site of the mill race. It is one of the really cool things about living in Canterbury. It is an extremely historic city, but it has such an odd mix and such a forward way of looking at things that they're willing to experiment. This is the Marlowe Theatre. Of course, everybody's got a Marlowe or Uncle Benkian Theatre. It's named after Christopher Marlowe, the playwright, born 1564, and it was rumoured he was a spy. So this is the Marlowe Memorial, but actually what's really cool is this thing here. It's a bird scooter, and they've introduced them into Canterbury City Centre for that alternative last mile travel. They have an online booking system, and you can just pick them up wherever, ride them, drop them off. Fantastic, actually. Canterbury is old. There's been a settlement here since Neolithic times. The Iron Age people were here. They had themselves a hill fort. I think they were called the Cantanasi, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, by all means. But the Romans were here, the Saxons were here. There's a flourishing medieval period, and the city has been here for that entire period of time. What we're looking at the back here actually is the Westgate Tower. It's one of the last 7 remaining gates of the old city. So Canterbury isn't unusual in terms of English towns. It's very compact and has a heart, which is great, like most English towns do. But one of the things that is unusual is they built a ring road during the war and started pedestrianising the centre, and we're in a pedestrian precinct at the moment. They keep adding to that precinct so it becomes more and more pedestrianised, and of course that makes it a great place to spend a bit of time, and it's also why those bird scooters that we looked at earlier are so tremendously popular. So this is perhaps the main focal point for tourism in Canterbury. We're outside the Cathedral Gates in the Butter Market. It changed its name about 200 years ago, actually. Before that, it was called the Bull Steak Market because, believe it or not, we had bull running in Canterbury. It's not only in Pamplona. We're standing at the bottom of Mercery Lane, which was the main route for the pilgrims. Imagine how many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of feet, have walked that way and are now dust. Because things don't really change, people are people the whole time through. And the pilgrims would come here and stay actually in these places here, sort of 900 to a room, that kind of thing. But they had the same needs we had: food, wine, drink, cheer, and this. These gargoyles actually introduced the entranceway to houses of ill repute. And so this was essentially a brothel. So we're standing in front of King's School. It's one of the oldest continuous run schools. I think it started in something like 597, 598. But Canterbury's that kind of place where you can't throw a stick without hitting something historical. This is just a brief introduction. Of course, there are a ton of other things to see in Canterbury. And really, you only have time for one or two. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and please remember to subscribe.